Hello, everybody. I'm Lisa Booth, along with Julie Banderas, Charlie Hurt, and Dr. Mark Siegel, and this is the Big Weekend Show. We begin tonight with a Fox News alert. President-elect Donald Trump has just nominated KASH Patel for director of the FBI. Trump made the announcement on Truth Social just moments ago. During Trump's first term, Patel served as the chief of staff at the Department of Defense. So, Charlie, not too long ago, Donald Trump said that KASH's new book, talking about how he's going to completely eradicate the deep state and also firings at the top ranks of the FBI would sort of be the blueprint for what he would want to do in his new administration. I mean, the deep state needs cleaning. The Department of Justice and the FBI also need some firings and some reform as well. So what do you think he'd be able to accomplish as FBI director? Yeah, well,
obviously, KASH Patel has a unique observation and history with the FBI. He has been on all sides of the FBI. He, working for Devin Nunes in Congress, of course, had oversight of the FBI and made life difficult for them. But that was, of course, before he realized just how corrupt the FBI is. He's also been a target of the FBI, and the reason he was a target of the FBI is because he pressured the release of information exposing that the FBI had illegally spied on President Trump's campaign and during his presidency. And the idea that this was, only in Washington would this be shocking. He has experience. He knows where the bodies are buried, and you will not be able to fool him out of actually doing some of the cleaning that needs to be done.
In the book is Government of Gangsters. So let's look at some of what KASH has done. He has served as the U.S. National Security Council official, senior advisor to the acting director of national intelligence, also as the chief of staff to the acting United States Secretary of Defense, all during the Trump administration. So, Julie, this is someone that Donald Trump trusts. Right. Yeah. And we saw him face the deep state during his first administration. We all remember the Russia hoax. We also remember the 51 former intelligence officers who lied to us, telling us that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. So it's important, particularly at the role of FBI director, for him to have someone that he trusts.
Yeah, and there is a history of a lot of deep state, if you want to talk about the deep state politics here, but in the FBI in itself, just trusting the FBI. I mean, we have not trusted him in past administrations, the FBI in general. The directors and former directors and also members of the FBI have been leaking information to the press in order to advance their political purposes. And the FBI should not be a place of politics. I mean, the FBI has a role, and the FBI has really lost a lot of credibility. I mean, the FBI does not have credibility. So I think obviously there's going to be backlash. Everyone's going to criticize on the left that Donald Trump has yet once again picked another, conservative who happens to also be a friend, who happens to be an ally. But that's kind of what you need in this White House, because if you don't pick people that you trust, then that's when the leaks happen and that's when the backstabbing happens. And for once, he's got people surrounded by him. And I know that Trump is very much a loyalist and he believes in the people that are loyal to him. And so you know that you're not going to be getting that with KASH Patel and with a lot of other nominees that he's chosen to elect.
Yeah, and this is someone who's also faced 2 assassination attempts as well, right? So he really needs people he can
trust his inner circle.
I think that the key points that have been made, he's cleansing. He's cleansing the FBI here. He's cleansing Department of Justice. He wants loyalists. You talk about loyalists. KASH Patel, of course, to add one point here, was the one who said those documents were declassified, period. And he stood up for Trump. He took the Fifth Amendment. That is something Trump remembers. With all the attacks that Trump considers to be politically motivated, Patel stood up for him. Has a great background. Got his J.D. over in the U.K. Is a very, very smart operator. Has been in the Department of Defense, as was said, Department of Justice. He's highly skilled.
Well, and I like, especially as someone who distrusts government to a great degree, I like the fact that Trump's surrounding himself with people who also don't like the government very much as well, and who've also been targets of the government as well. All right, so let's now head down to West Palm Beach, Florida, where Mark Meredith has been following this story very closely. Mark.
Good evening. You're right. I sure have. I'm glad I didn't make dinner reservations for tonight because these nominees are coming out at a pretty much rapid pace. We've also learned that there's going to be a new nominee to head up the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency. But I have to go back to the main story at this hour is that President-elect Trump plans, once he makes it to Washington, to nominate a new FBI director who would then, if confirmed by the Senate, take over from Christopher Wray, who filled the job after James Comey was fired back in 2017 as well. Now, Trump has been talking about trying to shake up the FBI for years, and obviously KASH Patel, if confirmed, would be able to do that. He has spoken out quite a bit about what he says is a deep state unelected cabal of tyrants who he thinks are trying to sabotage those that have been elected, including President-elect Trump. There had been rumblings that Patel could end up at CIA. The FBI post was also being out there as something talked about, but we didn't expect this announcement tonight. Now, one of the big questions going forward is what kind of reception he will get up on Capitol Hill. We saw what happened after the Attorney General nominee Matt Gaetz was announced. Trump said he was going to stick with him, that he felt like he was very confident in him. But then after a few days up on the Hill, gauging the reaction from lawmakers, they realized that they weren't going to be able to get their nominee through. I don't know what kind of reception KASH Patel is likely to get from the Senate. Obviously, the Republicans are counting on that Senate majority that they're going to have come January. That's going to give them a little bit more leverage, obviously, than they would have right now, with the Democrats still having that very small percentage where they can flip the chamber. So let's talk about what we're going to see next. One, we're going to have to ask about what about Christopher Wray's response to all of this right now. Obviously, he is not going to be Trump's pick going forward. My understanding is that he had said he had not planned to go anywhere after he had already been confirmed, like I said, in 2017. So he's going to simply be out of a job, but whether or not it's going to be Patel or somebody else going forward still yet to be seen. If it's okay with you, I'd like to read what Trump had to say about his nominee. He said he wants him to serve because he's a brilliant lawyer, an investigator, and an America First fighter who has spent his career exposing corruption, defending justice, and protecting the American people. Now, what we will also be looking to see is how, if confirmed, Patel would want to shake up the FBI. Obviously, there's been so much focus on the FBI's role back in 2016 as it began investigating Russiagate. And we have seen, of course, those hearings that have happened for years where people were trying to find out who was trying to control some of the behind-the-scenes action as they were investigating Trump. Trump making it very clear he's not happy with the FBI, and this certainly would be a shakeup. Guys, back to you.
It sure is, Mark. Thank you. A little breaking news to keep things exciting around here. Charlie, how do you think KASH Patel being picked as FBI director, how do you think this will be received on Capitol Hill? What does this fight look like for Trump to get some of these guys through?
Oh, there will definitely be a pretty good freak out on Capitol Hill among Democrats.
You think?
I don't think that there will be as much resistance. The problem for Matt Gaetz was that he started finding resistance among Republicans, and it had less to do with his history of work and more to do with other things. KASH Patel doesn't have to worry about that. There will be a massive freakout over the fact of what he stands for and what he promises to do. What I love about this is, there are lots of flaws with Matt Gaetz, but one of the great things about picking Matt Gaetz is that we were going to have confirmation hearings that we're going to put the Department of Justice on trial, and we were going to have a good 2 weeks of forcing the press to talk about how corrupt the Department of Justice has become and how much the Biden administration and the Obama administration, quite frankly, politicized the Department of Justice to go after their political enemies. The great thing about KASH Patel is, we lost that when Matt Gaetz walked away, but we're going to get it now. When KASH Patel goes before the United States Senate, the entire thing is going to be a trial of the Department of Justice and every single thing that they have done to become more politicized and to become weapons against anyone that the Biden administration or the Obama administration deems as a threat. And that is a magnificent thing.
Yeah.
Dr. Siegel, I feel like, this was a mandate for Donald Trump, right? The House and the Senate, they rode his coattails to victory. So I think he should have the people around him that he wants and that he trusts.
And that have great talent. And the other thing about KASH Patel is he's a writer, and he messages, and he helped Trump run Truth Social. And that children's book he wrote, The Plot Against the King, which made fun of the whole idea that Trump was targeted in the 2016 election, took his side with a children's book. He does it all across the way, and I think that Trump is picking him, A, because of his talent and B, because of his loyalty.
Julie, big picture, looking at some of these nominees and these cabinet picks, What does that tell you about what kind of administration we're going to see from this next chapter?
I think that we're going to have more
presidency?
honesty and transparency, because there was one thing that the former President Trump did, and that was be transparent. And this administration has been not. There has been such a lack of transparency in that. And I want to talk about Kash Patel as the man, not just of the professional. I mean, he's super distinguished. He is so smart. He's so qualified for this job. So nobody out there on the left can say he's not. But he's also a good person.
Yeah.
He's an honest man. He wrote that children's book. He's hysterical. I love him. His personality is amazing. He's a real person. But he also, like a children's book, he is actually a co-author. The two of us wrote for the same children's book publisher, Brave Books. And so I do know him quite well, and I think he's an amazing character, and I think he's going to be a huge asset. And I think it's so important to know that he's taking good character people and putting them into the White House that we can trust, that we know that they're not going to tell us bold-faced lies every single day. These are honest, hardworking people, and I don't think you can really argue against that.
Well, and Charlie, I mean, Americans overwhelmingly wanted change, right? They didn't like the direction this country was heading in, and they wanted change, and that's what they're getting.
Yeah, there were obviously key issues that that went into this past election. Immigration was one of them. The economy was another. But first and foremost, and the entire, we have talked about having like a third party or a nonpartisan candidate for as long as I've been covering politics. Donald Trump is the first person to come along who is a nonpartisan candidate, who is a third-party candidate, and he has crashed both parties. And the reason is exactly what you just said right there. People are ready for change. They want a scalding change to occur in Washington. And obviously, Donald Trump himself would say that there were mistakes he made, chiefly about some of the people that he hired in the first term. He's not going to make that mistake this time. And I think that, he views his reelection as being a starting point, not a victory, but a starting point for making transformational change.
Bringing in fresh talent. Trump doesn't really have a rearview mirror. He's not going to go back in time to somebody that he thinks, well, maybe I'll keep him, maybe I won't. And I absolutely agree with Julie that the bad look from the last administration, of the outgoing administration, of camouflaging everything, a sick president that was hidden from the public eye, except from physicians who knew. I mean, we need fresh transparency. By the way, get Julie Banderas' children's book, Brave Books.
Also, good. I'm glad you brought up the fact they did lie to us about. We have a president currently in office who dropped out via X, said he wasn't equipped to run for president, but yet he's still in office. It's real quick, Julie, then we got to go.
No, I mean, it's crazy. And if you look at the past administration and you wonder why he's changing and making these drastic changes, is because that's what America voted for.
Yep.
They did not vote for Kamala Harris because they wanted change. Even Kamala Harris couldn't accept that this country wants change. So I say go for it. Kash Patel has been very vocal that he wants to absolutely just upend the FBI, just turn it on its back, and he should, because the FBI has been corrupt for way too many years.
Totally corrupt. Great guy.